So a few days ago, I got the chance to see Carcass, the Black Dahlia Murder, Gore Guts, and Noisem. And while I loved the show, and I was absolutely just blown away by all of the bands that performed, I was very, very disappointed in the Pittsburgh crowd. And upon posting on Facebook, I noticed that this was something that was happening at many of the other shows on the tour as well. And it got me to thinking, is it really because there's something wrong with the bands? Is it because maybe they're not exactly what you call traditional popular metal? Or is it the fact that it's 2014 and concerts have just kind of denigrated? Well, after doing a little bit of research and a little bit of thought, I've noted that it's the latter. Concerts these days have definitely denigrated, not in the bands that are there, not in the experience or anything like that, but in the fan base, and the people that are in the crowd, the people that are supposed to be the energy givers, the people that the band themselves feeds off of. So I'm going to do a little something different today. Instead of me just sitting here and being irritated and basically spitting about how this is a terrible thing, I'm instead going to give you guys a new top 5 list, another 5 things list. That way you can perhaps, try harder next time, Pittsburgh and other surrounding areas, other surrounding countries, other surrounding states, other surrounding establishments. This is something, in fact, we're going to call this 5 things that you can do in order to make your concert experience much better. Number 5, the very first thing that you need to do is prepare. Yes, you actually have to prepare to go to a concert. I'm not just talking, grab your keys, grab your phone, grab your shit, and leave. I'm talking, you want to make sure that you have yourself a nice meal. You want to make sure that you're adequately hydrated. You want to have a lot of different things in your body energetically. That way you're able to expel that energy and expel a lot of it once you get to the show. Once you get to the show, this is not an occurrence where you should be, really concerned or debating about whether or not you should take money out of the ATM just to get some bar, French fries, either that or whether you should purchase a cheap lager just to get a quick little boost. And this is also not something where you should empty your stomach for the entirety of the day and then down an energy drink 10 seconds before you go into the arena. This is something where you want to prepare with a, preferably either a home-cooked meal or something that has a lot of good, rich food in it, as opposed to something that's just going to be bona fide waste that's going to actually drain your energy without you even moving a muscle. So this is something where you want to maybe cook something before you leave. Either that, or if you do opt to stop at a restaurant, make sure that it's one that serves actual food as opposed to just, presupposed slop. Secondly, take in only what you need. So this is number 4. Take in only what you need to the show. This is something where if you think that you're going to lose your hoodie because you're going to get hot, leave it in the car. You might be cold whenever you're, trying to get in and you're waiting there for a couple of minutes, but once you're in there, you're sweating your balls off and you don't know what to do with your shirt or your hoodie or whatever. Whatever it is, if you're afraid to lose it, if you're afraid to leave it there, then just don't take it in. That's definitely something that's going to help you in the long run. Not to mention, having to hold all those things keeps you stationary. And stationary is definitely not something that you want in a metal show unless you are one of those individuals that prefers that. Somebody who prefers to, kind of linger at the backside of the crowd and is really there for the music more so than just, the idea of moshing or the idea of getting really, really ridiculously involved and shedding a lot of energy. Now, I know that a lot of people at the show that I was at probably did so because either A, they have some pretty nasty injuries, either that or that's just never been their scene, it's never been their style. I definitely saw a lot of individuals there that were probably over the age of 40, people that probably were Carcass fans whenever they first came out or knew of Gore Guts whenever they first came out, people that were screaming for the song Obscura from from Gore Guts whenever they were about to go off stage. So there you go. Perhaps the demographic right there was one of the biggest shifts. However, these were also the people that were screaming their asses off. Number 3, and perhaps one of the more important things that I could say, is that be energetic. Don't be afraid to be an asshole. Show and shed every ounce of energy that you have and scream your motherfucking head off. These bands love it whenever people are able to, whenever they're able to feed off of the people, whenever they're able to feed off of the crowd. And this is something that is a lot of call and response if that's something that's the band's style. This is something that was employed more so by the Black Dahlia Murder and Carcass rather than by Gore Guts. However, Gore Guts also attempted to do a little bit of crowd interaction as well. However, this was something that for the Black Dahlia Murder, the reaction was pretty decent, but whenever it came to Carcass, the reaction seemed really, really weak. It almost seemed like half of these people had no fucking clue what was going on. Either that or had such a small, if not, disappeared amount of energy. That sentence was awful, but who cares? That it just didn't matter. This was something where you really need to have that energy based around the suggestion from number 5. That way you can have energy throughout the entirety of the show. You want to show these bands your appreciation, especially whenever it's a band that this is the first time coming through a city, or maybe the first time coming through the country in nearly 2 decades. You want to make sure that if they continue on with their career, which I hope Carcass does, that they decide to come back. If they do not see a strong crowd reaction out of you, there's a good chance that they may be like, oh, Pittsburgh, or oh, St. Louis, or oh, Tulsa. We went through there. Their crowd was weak. Let's go somewhere else. Let's try another place. People complain about their scenes being weak. People complain maybe that their scenes don't get very many big bands. Well, there's a pretty damn big reason why that probably doesn't happen. If the reaction is weak, if the turnout is weak, if the energy level is weak, that is certainly something that would keep me from coming back. Number 2, band merch and the personability aspect. If you have the option to be personal with the band, if they give you that option based around whether it's a big, club show, either that or it's a large festival show, or even something that's very intimate, but you just have the opportunity to meet them, definitely don't squander those opportunities. Those are great opportunities in order to really showcase your appreciation to the band themselves directly. However, if you don't have that opportunity, the merchandise is certainly a good way to do it. This is definitely one way, going back to the musical economics debate, where these bands are really able to continue to go on and continue to do what they love to do. So all the support really helps. Not to mention, even though whenever you go to a show, there's been a traditional little taboo that you don't wear a shirt of one of the bands that's playing, and that's still a taboo that I think exists today, but it was certainly big whenever I first started going to shows. And yeah, that's really cool. You're able to showcase other bands, and maybe other people could say, yeah, I love that band, or hey, what's that band sound like? And kind of spread the word. It's a nice little, groundwork that can be laid for a band to get a couple of additional, fans without even having to do a damn thing. It's a great way to spread the word. However, getting the band merch for the band that you just saw, or one or multiple, either that or CDs, signed LPs, buttons, things that you're able to accessorize with, yeah, there's a little bit of a fashionability to it, and it's certainly something that if you are a metal fan, and this is something that really embodies your life as far as from a musical perspective, and even if it's just something that you casually listen to, however you are a big fan of, this is something that you absolutely need. It's really, aside from going online and having to pay for shipping, one of the most direct ways that you're going to get some of this merchandise, because many stores that are within a mall, either that or a standalone storefront, will not have a lot of these groups. So this is really your primary opportunity to get it without having to pay through the gills for ludicrous shipping, unless, of course, you make a very, very, very large order. Finally, and most importantly, number 1 way that you can make your concert experience better: turn your cell phone off. Don't bring your camera. Okay, you can bring your camera, but don't use it during the show. Use it if you meet one of the bands. Use it if you want to take photos with you and your buddies getting drunk off of cheap lager. Use it if you just want to take a photograph of the venue, either that or if you want to take a quick snapshot of the band. This is not something where each and every individual needs to be posting a status during each and every song saying, yeah, I can't believe they're playing this. Basically showing all of your enthusiasm on social media, as opposed to showing all of your enthusiasm right there in the present at the location. Secondly, not every single song needs to be filmed. I understand we live in a YouTube age. I understand we live in an age where there are bootleg copies of shows from everywhere and that involve everybody. There's a couple principal concerns with this. First off, the quality usually blows, whether that be visual, audio, or both. Secondly, most of you do not know how to hold a camera. Hell, I don't know how to hold a camera whenever you're at a show and there's a bunch of people around, you're swaying and everything. It's destroying the whole entire... It's basically one big distortion field. Not to mention, it also reminds you of the Blair Witch Project, only the shitty edition, which the original was already shitty, so that's double shitty. So there you go. Would you like fries with that? Thirdly and finally, this is something that's very, very big. You're going to have one, and you're hoping that it's going to get you a little bit of notoriety, perhaps, on social media, but who gives a shit? There's going to be 17 other people doing the exact same thing, and each of you are going to share it out in about 40 to 100 views, if you're fortunate. If you have a little bit of a better quality, you might get a little bit more, but you're not going to get anything else from that. I understand it's sharing the band's sound. It's something that you can show your friends. I get that. I really do. But instead of doing that, perhaps you should encourage them to come out to the show with you and purchase a ticket. Instead, it should be something where you play the music for them off of the CD and say, hey, these guys are coming to town. you should come with me. This should be something that we do together. There should be more focus on human interaction as opposed to social media interaction at shows. And I understand that buzzworthiness is something that is so critical right now, where basically the number of Twitter followers, the number of Facebook friends, the number of people that like your Imager or Tumblr or Instagram photos is tantamount to society and equals your relevance, which is bullshit, by the way. But this is not something where the buzzworthy factor needs to be at the forefront. This is instead something where you take one photo, there you go. That's all you need. You don't need to take 17,000 photos of one show, because what's ending up happening is, instead of actually seeing the band live, you're seeing the concert, but behind a photo lens. That's not like seeing the show. In the 1970s, it was certainly different. Whenever Peter Frampton decided to play Do You Feel Like We Do. The live recording is still something that you hear on the radio a good bit, and just for bringing out a guitar, that man got a reaction that easily would make most sports teams jealous, because there's a good chance that throughout their lauded history, through decades to even centuries of time, they may never ever hear a reaction for their team, for their squad, something that is representing an entire region, the likes of which he received just for bringing out a guitar with a vocoder. It's not something you're also going to hear today. And I think it was a talk box, whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about. The wah-wah. It's not something that you're going to hear today. Not at all. Whether you're in a sea of just 1,000 people or under 1,000 people, or if you're in a crowd of 50,000 people, those are kinds of reactions that really are flashes in the pan, something that has become secondary. It has now become more important to showcase where you are to everybody, to hopefully make them jealous, either that or to show them what a fun time they're having, as opposed to paying the proper respect to the musicians that decided to come there, and basically took a risk to come there, based around financial potential gain, creating new fans, and fostering new relationships with people in that area. This is something that needs to change. We have all of this technology, which does give us a tremendous, tremendous edge as far as doing our own marketing for bands and really helping them out on a personal level. However, this is something that I have noticed throughout the past couple of years has become abused more and more. And it's something that needs to stop, because instead of helping the music scene as everything really promised to do, it's something that's actually hurting it. And that's something that needs to stop.